Greetings my beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. Welcome back to another retro recipe test. Today I'm going to be making yet another retro cake. If you've missed my other retro recipes and cake recipes, I shall put the playlist up above and down below. But today I'm going to be making a Milky Way swirl cake. Milky Way, of course, is this. It is a chocolate bar. Actually, it contains nougat that is surrounded by milk chocolate. There's also a layer of caramel as well. And recently I made a Snickers salad. And if you missed that video, I'll also put the links above and down below. And I'm going to be using this recipe today, the Milky Way bar swirl cake, and I got it out of this book. It's called Back of the Box Gourmet. I found this at the thrift store, but this book is awesome. So all the recipes, of course, contain some kind of name brand because they were printed on the box or the cans of processed food. And as Michael McLaughlin explains, this was a brilliant strategy for processed food manufacturers to get people to start using their foods, especially in kind of odd and strange ways. For example, the classic tomato soup cake, which many of you have said that you'd like to see me try. If you do, let me know down in the comments. It uses a can of tomato soup to make cake. The mock apple pie, which is made with Ritz crackers, I've also made this recipe. This one has me intrigued. The impossible cheeseburger pie, what's so impossible about it? Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started making this recipe. I'm gonna take 2 Milky Way bars, I'm gonna unwrap them and slice them up. So, there's the cross section. Nougat, caramel, milk chocolate. Slice these up. Place them into a small saucepan, get all of that in there. 2 tablespoons of water. And then I'm gonna melt this on low heat. So while that's melting, we're gonna go ahead and prepare our batter. In a large bowl, we're gonna just use some yellow store-bought cake mix. Dump that in. Oh boy, ugh. I always, it never fails. Flour, I have to be wearing something dark. It just never fails. Why? Why do you do that to yourself? So I've measured 1 cup of water and 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil and 3 room temperature eggs. These came from my chickens. Thank you, my chickens. My chickens are finally fully grown, so we're getting some really beautiful large, extra large eggs. It's great. So now we're going to use an electric mixer and then mix it on low speed until it's combined, and then on high speed for 2 minutes. All right, here we go. Low, slow. Good, okay. Now here's my Milky Way bars. Okay, so Milky Ways are smelling divine, and in the time that it takes to mix up the batter, it's about as much as you need to melt these things. Perfect. To the melted Milky Ways, we're now going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Get in the bowl. Stir that in. Now we're going to take 2/3 of a cup of the whipped cake batter. And this is going to be the swirl, the contrasting swirl in our yellow cake. Alrighty, so here's my bundt pan, which I've prepared by spraying it with pan spray that contains flour. Ooh, yes, love that. We're gonna add our Milky Way swirl part, and don't get it on the sides of the pan, it says. Run a knife through it to swirl. So I'm gonna do that. Swirl the cake, swirl the cake. Now we're gonna place this in a 350-degree oven for 40 minutes or until a toothpick comes out clean. So it said to bake the cake for 40 minutes. Mine actually finished at 35. So be sure to err on the side of a little less cooking time because you don't want an over-baked cake. I let it cool for 25 minutes before inverting it onto a rack and allowing it to cool completely before we glaze it. So the recipe says you can dust it with powdered sugar and call it a day, or you can gild the lily and make a glaze using 2 more Milky Way bars. So let's do that, shall we? So we've got 2 more Milky Way bars. I'm gonna slice them a little thinner this time, and it should help make them melt faster. We're gonna add these to our saucepan. 2 teaspoons of water, and 2 tablespoons of butter. So we're just gonna melt this, and then we're gonna let it cool just a little bit so it has more of a glaze consistency, and then we're gonna all over our cake. Okay, let's go do that, shall we? Alrighty, so here is my cooled cake. Cut this bump off using my serrated knife and turning and turning. There we go. Now we're gonna take our glaze that we made, which is basically melted up Milky Way bars with a little bit of butter and water. I'm gonna drizzle this right on top of the cake. Oh yes. Come on, Glaze. Keep going. Here is my beautiful Milky Way bar cake. Isn't it gorgeous? It turned out great. To me, it looks like a giant Girl Scout Samoa cookie. It looks so beautiful. And the glaze is kind of set up. So, well, essentially it's a candy bar. So we've got a melted candy bar on top of cake that contains candy bar. I mean, yes, can't wait to taste this. It smells wonderfully artificial, kind of custardy, fake butter, vanilla. Let's dig into this. Okay. Da, 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 da. Ooh, it's cutting beautifully. I'm gonna cut right there. Ooh. Meh, meh, meh. No real swirl. Oh, actually, there is a bit of a swirl. So the swirl kind of settled onto the bottom, but if you look into the here, there is a swirl there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's not a huge major swirl, but the swirl is there. See? The swirl exists. The swirl exists, but it looks like it did settle on the bottom of the pan a bit. But the swirl is there. So the air bubbles are not too big on the crumb. I did not over whip it, which I've done in the past, so at least I've learned something. Now let's go ahead and give this a taste. It sounds very moist. Itadakimasu. So not surprisingly, this tastes like a yellow cake box mix, which to me is signified by kind of an artificial butter flavor, which to me in a context is actually very, very good. And in terms of the Milky Way flavor, I'm not really discerning it, but I'm gonna have another bite here where I think the Milky Way bar kind of settled into the cake. I definitely tasted it in that bite, and that bite also contained the glaze, which we poured right on top, and it's caramelly and chocolatey and of course decadently sweet. But the predominant flavor actually is of the yellow cake, that kind of buttery vanilla flavor of the cake itself. It's a great little cake. I think it'd be fun to bring to a party. It certainly would serve a lot of people, and I think it would be a great little conversational piece. Like, what do you think the secret ingredient is in this cake? 4 Milky Way bars. The glaze also lends a nice little chewiness. It has a little bit of kind of caramel texture to it. So that's a nice little foil to the fluffy kind of cakey texture. You got a little bit of that candy caramel chew on top. Yeah. So there you have it, the Milky Way swirl cake. Alrighty, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys learned something. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see one of the recipes that I showed you in that cookbook in a following episode. And yeah, share this video with your friends, follow me on social media, like, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye!